What's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the Sports Status Podcast. I am here with Brandon Herrera, and then Greg will be hopping on a little bit. So, Brandon, how are things have things been going lately?
Hey, I'm doing good. We're here in Minnesota. Normally, we got a bunch of snow on the ground, but our temps have been like around the 60s, so we're seeing some grass out there. The sun is shining. Nothing better could ask for. Spring right around the corner.
Yeah, I can say that it's been, over here in Texas, it's not anywhere near what we had a few weeks ago with that snowstorm. So it's nowhere near. I mean, even the day after all the snow melted, it went up to 70 degrees. So it's been a wild ride when it comes to weather.
Yeah,
Um,
now you know how us Minnesotans feel when we get that snow and then it's
yeah.
warm out and then so.
Now, going in. Speaking of warm, cold, and all this kind of stuff, our first segment of the day is hot take. Just like we normally do, hot take when it comes to any sport. Brandon, what is yours?
I know we'll get into it a little bit later, but I think the Bucks, Tampa Bay, that is, might repeat.
Um, for me, my hot take actually goes to the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
Um, my hot take, my hot take is, I look at when it comes to the MVP conversation, I look at it is if you take away this player from your staff, how good would this player be? Um, if they were how good would this team be without that player? That's how I look at it. And because the Nets roster is so stacked with the Kyrie Irving, with James Harden, with Kevin Durant, my hot take is I don't think anyone from the Brooklyn Nets should get MVP this year.
Ooh, that
Uh,
is kind of a
yeah,
little, take. So,
we saw last night. Kyrie Irving wasn't playing that Brooklyn Nets game against the Boston Celtics, and Boston still got destroyed by Brooklyn.
yeah,
So if you take away one of those big three players, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine, and that reason I don't think any one of those players should be the most valuable player in the league.
yeah. I get your point, but of course it's gonna, it could be one of those three. But I think right now, I mean, it's a toss up in the race of MVP. So,
Um, my MVP, I know it's a homer pick, but I'm going with Jokic. I mean, he's
okay,
he's been having several triple doubles. He's the reason why they're in the playoff race right now.
yeah,
If you take away him from that roster, they probably won't even make it. And now we
yeah.
have we have Greg Hot Seat Gallino. So
Oh
Hey guys, how's it
God,
going,
and then he's
Brandon?
wearing that ugly blue and red New York shirt. Come on. How
um,
you doing, Greg?
I'm doing good. It's laundry day, bud. Sorry.
It
Yeah, how are
happens.
you guys doing?
we're doing great. When it so like uh, like what Brent and I were talking about, what is your hot take? And it can go for any sport: hockey, baseball, basketball, football. What is your hot take?
My hot take is look out for the Milwaukee Brewers. I
Ooh.
talked about it a little bit last night. Got Woodruff and Burns, underrated pitching. I know they don't have too much pop in the lineup, but look for them to make a run on my Cardinals in the Central. That's my hot take. I think that they're my Cinderella team. I think that they're a team that could really make a push for the playoffs. I think that they've got just enough talent to get it done. The NL Central's wide open. So I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. I'm a little nervous for my Cards to try to keep them out.
Um, So we're gonna move on. We'll be talking a little bit into the NBA. We're gonna be talking actually about the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis, ever since that Denver Nuggets game where Denver, the last one that Denver actually won that game, Anthony Davis was hurt and they gave him uh, four 4 weeks, estimating about 4 weeks. It's getting close to that time, but I gotta wonder, do you think that the Los Angeles Lakers, how high, where do you rank them on your playoff ranking? Like, are they the best three in the West, or where do you rank the Los Angeles Lakers in the West? If Anthony Davis is not on that roster, I'll go with Greg first on this.
Well, I think that Anthony Davis, he's an outstanding player, not just offensively, but he's been a defensive player of the year. Is always up for first team All NBA defense. He's a huge, huge part of that team. I think that if you take him out of the equation, I think that the Lakers are probably like a fifth team, fifth seed at best. He's just such a huge part of that team defensively, and he just sets the tone. And him and LeBron really play well together. So I think that without him, even if he's only out for 4 weeks, I can see the Clippers overtaking him. I can see Phoenix still, maybe edging them out. So and the Utah Jazz are playing lights out basketball still, and they're meshing really well. So I think that if you take Anthony Davis out, and if they don't get any reinforcements, I think that they're in for a world of hurt. I think that they're gonna drop behind the Jazz, the Suns, the Nuggets if they can ever start clicking. I've been big on the Nuggets, but they just aren't quite putting it together yet. So I don't know. I see them around the 4 or 5 without Davis. But this is a good time without him for LeBron to really show how good he is or how good everyone thinks he is. I don't think he's the GOAT by any stretch of the imagination. I think that he's a very good player, but I think that, in reality, if they were playing in their prime, going by ones to a game of 11, I think that Jordan would beat him 11-8 if he spotted LeBron 7 points. That's my take. But
wow.
but I think that this is a good chance for LeBron to really show just how great he is to that team in AD's absence. But I do think that he is a huge piece. You got to remember the Chicago Bulls. It'd be kind of the equivalent of losing Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was a big part of that championship team that got 6 championships. So I think that without AD, it's almost the same as losing, your right-hand man. So, I just don't see the Lakers doing very well without AD.
Looking out at this game, they played 14 games without AD. I mean, before this injury against what happened with the Nuggets, he's missed 3. So this is not the first stretch of time, that he's actually missed games this season after that Nuggets injury. He's estimated to hit, 4 weeks. They've already ruled him out tonight against the Pacers. I can see them ruling him out against the Warriors as well. But I think he'll be back in the game after that. Now, with Anthony Davis on that roster, without Anthony Davis on the roster, the Lakers are 7-7. If that continues, winning half their games, if Anthony Davis has missed the rest of the season, which is probably not the case, if Anthony Davis misses the rest of the season, they hit their final score will be their final record would be 41-31 if they win 17 games. Which I would see if Anthony Davis misses the rest of the season. I see the Lakers making the playoffs. I see them doing that because because I can see it around six. Yeah, around the 6 seed is where I would see if they miss the rest of the season. But like I said, he's probably not going to come back until maybe a couple more games. But he'll probably come back. He'll probably miss. He'll probably be back and play maybe the rest of the season unless he gets another injury, unless he misses time again. Um, so as of right now, if he is truly himself, maybe I can make an argument and say first or second seed. But if he's not, and if he is not, and they're not back to the way they were before Anthony Davis' injury, I see maybe around a 4 seed. Clippers, Lakers, and Clippers, Suns, and Jazz, maybe around that. And I kind of got flack on that for saying that out in the comment section at Real Talk the other day. So let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL. Actually, not NFL. We're going to talk XFL and CFL. Now, they made an agreement that they're going to be partners in a way. My question is, do you see the XFL and the CFL merging? We're going to go with Brandon.
Yeah, I can see a merger happening. I mean, before COVID, XFL was actually doing pretty decent in ratings. The CFL's been around for a while, so and then now you got a big name, Dwayne Johnson, that played in the CFL, who's now the owner of the XFL. So yeah, I can see a merger between those two. Maybe not this year, but I would say probably within 5 years we'll see a full 100% merger between the two, and probably not 100% competition against the NFL because the NFL is the top dog right now. But football's football. A lot of people like football, so they'll go watch anything that deals with football. So yeah, there could be a merger down the road, 5 years or so.
I will say this: I don't think that they're going to. They probably won't merge this year because XFL isn't coming back this year.
Has that been ruled out yet, or no?
In 2022 is around where they plan on coming back.
Oh, okay.
Greg, where do you see them?
I'm not sure quite yet on a merger. I don't know exactly what all this agreement means yet. I don't know if that means that CFL players can kind of play in both leagues and vice versa. I don't know exactly what that is, but like Brandon hinted at, Dwayne Johnson played a little bit of CFL, Canadian Football League football, and he's got some ties to it. And I could see a possible merger. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he's a very smart businessman as well as a talented actor and entertainer. So I could see them kind of putting their money and their heads together and try to come up with something to make it a little bit more lucrative and try to build up the XFL. The XFL was doing pretty good before COVID hit. It's really sad that Vince McMahon tried to get this venture going again, and it was looking pretty promising, and then COVID and everything just kind of took it down and shut it down early. So I could see the CFL and XFL merging. I mean, I think that money has always been kind of a big issue with the XFL and trying to keep it afloat. So I could definitely see some money exchanging hands and trying to put together a little bit better product by combining the two companies.
My take on this is I actually have two things to say. One, what are they going to do with the schedule? Because XFL plays in the spring, CFL plays late summer to the fall. If they agree to merge, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the schedule? Are they going to push it so both leagues play in the fall, which won't won't be a great idea because every single time they try to play, attempted create a league to play in the spring, it does not work. I mean, it does. It's sorry in the every if they push it in the spring, that's probably not going to work out as well because every time U.S. does something in the a football league in the spring, that does not work out very well. But in the United States, you know, people would probably rather watch uh, yeah, people would probably watch NFL game than say an XFL game if they had to choose between the two to watch. A lot of people probably will because NFL has been around so long. B um, B is the NFL has more talented players than the XFL does. So I don't see that working out as I don't see that working out as well if they push it all into the fall. But there one thing I will have to say is when has Dwayne Johnson ever been part of something that has not worked out?
Exactly. I mean, the guy's a business mind, and his business partner, I believe, is his ex-wife.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, so those two together. I mean, ballers. You know, his WWE career. You know, movies. So yeah, the guy's almost like gold member. Anything he touches turns to gold. So. But what you're saying, Nate, I think they would move it to a spring summer league. You
I could
know, if they do it, because like you said, anything goes up against the NFL that's football related, we're watching the NFL. Unless it's a college bowl game or a big rivalry. You know, that's another thing too. If they push it back to the winter or fall, now you got college football and the NFL to deal with. You know, so unless they play like Tuesday, Wednesday nights, or Fridays or something.
that's true. They
You
can do
know,
that too.
yeah. So, but I think they would keep it in spring, early summer, and then like Greg said, if they allowed them to play in both leagues, that would be something kind of unique. But who knows? It's all in talks right now, and we'll see where it goes.
I mean, couldn't you imagine a Houston Roughnecks who were the only team undefeated last year up against the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
Yeah.
Um, I will have to say this though. I have ups and downs about this whole if they merge kind of thing. If they just stick to like a partnership, help each other out, but not merge and play against each other, that might be something different here. But I just if they do end up going and merging, that's where things are. You know, I have the ups and downs.
Well, what we could see too is an XFL league, a CFL league, and then the two meet in a championship round, a partnership. I mean, neither voice of the leagues has said that it's a merger. They're calling it a partnership, so we'll see where it goes. I mean,
I am. There have been um, American teams playing. There have been teams in America for the CFL before.
oh yeah,
It hasn't worked out. That has not worked out. Um, really, because people are rather because people have drafted more American players than CFL players. That's why
no.
it didn't work out. I mean, Canadian players. Um,
But but you got to remember, back in the early to mid '80s, they had the USFL, which
Nope.
produced Herschel Walker, Jim Kelly. Their ratings were on fire, and their big key to success when it was going well was they were playing in the summertime, and everybody
Yep.
was having a blast, enjoying the hot weather. Just it was almost like going to a spring training game. Everybody was just out there enjoying the sun and having a good time. And then they had a bunch of hiccups because some of the owners got together and they wanted to compete with the NFL and play during the fall. and
Yep.
compete, and they didn't have the TV rights and everything, so they just basically had to fold because they couldn't keep up. They didn't have any of the TV rights. They didn't have any of the revenue coming in because the NFL had everything on lockdown. So I think that if you do put a league together and are able to play so that's not coinciding with the NFL, or even, play on like a Wednesday or Friday or Saturday or something, you might get some decent ratings. So I think that a summer league or a spring or summer league would be pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see spring summer league, but like I said before, it's where I have a little bit of I just have a lot of concerns to say about that. And now we're gonna transfer into the NFL. We're gonna talk a little bit of free agency. Earlier today, we're gonna start with Tom Brady first. Tom Brady signed to a 4-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, you said in your hot take,
Yep.
that you think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to repeat. Can you get onto that? Can you?
Yeah, if they keep everybody together, look what they did with no preseason. Yeah, they started off rocking, but once they got going, they got going. The defense was solid. Tom Brady was doing all the right things and making the plays. So, I hate to say it, but yeah, in NFL terms, he's probably the GOAT. I don't really like using that word GOAT, but if he can pull this off again, what would it be? 8 and 11 times? So, he's another guy too that touches whatever and it turns to gold. So it seems like they're giving him control of the team and bringing in who they want, which again, I don't think is the best thing to do for athletes. But hey, Tom Brady's pretty much, you listen to Tom Brady, so he's the eldersman on that team. So, I was always told to listen to my elders. So they do that, they could probably see another ring or two coming soon.
Yeah. So the one thing that I have question about it, I don't like. I'm with Ace. I'm with everybody who thinks that the GOAT conversation is stupid. I really don't like it. Tom Brady is probably the most accomplished quarterback since the merger, but you're also forgetting about Otto Graham, who has the same number of championship wins as Tom Brady.
Nope.
It's very different game back then, but you got to ask, what would Otto Graham? How many touchdowns would he? How many touchdowns would he have if he played today? And how many touchdowns did Tom Brady have if he played back in the 50s? That's the reason why I had it. I don't think championships should be considered when talking about the GOAT conversation. That's just me.
Oh no, you're exactly right. So it's a debate that nobody has an answer for.
Greg, what do you think on that?
As far as Tom Brady being the GOAT?
Mm-hmm. Oh well, or the signing, or the signing too.
Oh, I don't know about 4 years. He's almost my age, and I know I've got a little bit of juice left in my arm, but I don't know. He's gonna be 44 pretty soon. I don't know if he's gonna quite make it to 48 years old on the field, but I think it's a pretty good signing. The thing about Tom Brady is over the years, not all the time, but over the years, he's had a habit of restructuring his contracts and taking less money per season so that the team can go out and get the players that it needs to be successful. And it seems to have worked out pretty well because he's got 6 championships, I believe, or how many rings does he got? 6?
7, I think. 7 and 10.
6.
Yeah. Okay. So
6. Okay.
So it's worked out pretty well, especially with the Patriots dynasty. So he's taking pay cuts so that they can sign other people. If he needs a good running back, a good wide receiver, a really solid offensive lineman, he'll restructure his deal so that they can put those pieces together. So I think that's been a huge part of his success is taking less money and restructuring his deals so that they can put together a really solid team each and every season. And so I think that's a huge part of his success. A lot of quarterbacks want the big money and they sign for big money, but then the Cowboys, they just signed Prescott to 40 million. But what does that leave? I mean, who are they going to get? I mean, that ties up a lot of money. But if you got a Tom Brady that's going to make 25 or even take less if he wants to get a top-notch wide receiver in there or something, they're going to be more successful because he's taking less money. As far as the GOAT's concerned, I personally have 3 or 4 players that I think are better than him, but I also don't like the GOAT talk because it's hard to compare players from the 60s, players from the 70s, players from this era, especially in football. So I definitely think that he's definitely one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't know if I would categorize him or anyone for that matter as the GOAT, but his success, his team success, winning the Super Bowl rings, taking less money, shows that he's a pretty good team player. And he knows that if his team needs something, he can restructure or try to maybe get some other teammates to restructure so that they can get a really championship level team going. So I kind of like that about Tom Brady.
I'm gonna say this when going back to the GOAT conversation here. I consider, for me, the GOAT conversation is which player did I enjoy watching the most. So in that case, for me, Peyton Manning's the GOAT. It's not really off the stats or anything. It's just who do I enjoy watching the most.
Well, no, and Greg makes great points. I mean, he's a team's guy. So whatever the team does, he'll restructure and has restructured. So hats off to him, respect to him for that part because nowadays everybody wants their money. That's all they want. So got to give Brady respect where it's due. So
So Dak Prescott, he signed this whole huge, massive contract, and people are constantly wondering, why is Tom Brady not signing big, massive deals after all the success he has? But they haven't been winning the Super Bowls after signing those huge, massive contracts. So I agree. I don't like it when people sign massive contracts. Babe Ruth, going to baseball here, he actually he signed. I can't remember the amount, but he signed a deal. It's basically he was playing on minimum wage.
hey, as long as he's got his hot dogs and cigars, he didn't care.
Yeah, he signed under minimum wage. He didn't sign a huge, massive contract with the team. He just signed in the minimum wage. So I don't like it when people get these huge, massive contracts. I just, I think that you should sign for whatever you need, not whatever you want, but for whatever you need.
Well, I mean, but that's on the owners though too. I mean, they don't have to offer these big deals. But they choose to and they sign them. Like Greg said, Dax signed for 40 million this year, and I think if he hits different incentives and stuff and other things, I think that's like almost double in incentives and stuff or something like that. So, I mean, you got to put the blame on the owners somewhere. They need to stop doing it. I mean, nobody in their right mind is going to turn down anything that's well more than what they're getting paid for. I know at my job, if somebody offered me $30 an hour, $40 an hour to work, I'm staying. So
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no about the whole ownership thing. In most people's cases, then it's probably a no. I mean, you know, I know you like the Minnesota Vikings and all, but they shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins to that.
Oh,
That's a little bit on the owners, but when it comes to Dallas's case, although I do think he got overpaid.
yeah.
Dallas got Jerry Jones got left into the option: either you pay the guy or you let him walk. No,
Yeah.
I don't think Dallas. No, I don't think Dak Prescott's a top 5 quarterback.
No.
Maybe 8, maybe 9, somewhere around there, maybe. But he is a franchise guy. He is a franchise quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's not the best, but he is a great quarterback. Now, even though I think his contract situation, I'm putting entirely on Dak's back. I'm not going to put it on Jerry Jones because he was forced in this situation. Now, do you guys agree? I'm going to go with Gray on this one first.
Okay, agree. But can you say that one more time, Nate?
So I feel like Jerry Jones was forced in his situation because even though he's not the best quarterback, he's still a franchise quarterback. I put the blame on Dak Prescott for his contract situation and not on Jerry Jones. Do you agree with that?
I put the blame on a lot of people, not necessarily Jerry Jones. I mean, if you listen to sports talk, all they said was, "It's time for this man to get paid. It's time for this man to get paid." You know, you had Deion Sanders, all these other former players, sports analysts saying, "It's time to pay Dak Prescott. It's time to pay Dak Prescott." And that's the mentality that a lot of these former players and analysts think is in terms of money. You know, it's time to get paid. It's time for this position to get paid. It's time for this position to get paid. It's time for owners to step up and pay everyone. So I think that Jerry Jones kind of got a lot of pressure from the media and a lot of other sources, you know, and Dak Prescott, when he got injured, people were complaining that Jerry Jones didn't lock him in earlier and everything. But that was solely on Dak Prescott and his agent consistently searching for more and more money. So I think that Jerry Jones was really weighing the situation out and wanting to see if maybe he needed to move on at some point from Dak. But now he's locked in. I think that, like you're saying, Nate, he is the face of the franchise now. I think that Dak's a decent quarterback. I definitely don't think he's in the top 10 in the league right now. So I think that it's not the kind of money that I would pay out for someone that's not, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. But yeah, I put the situation solely on Dak Prescott and his agent consistently seeking this astronomical amount of money for, you know, in my opinion, it's above average play that we've seen out of him, but it's nothing that's been really outstanding in my opinion. So I don't know where it's going to go from here, because if Dak Prescott's getting $40 million, should Tom Brady get, you know, $65 million? I mean, there's a big difference in success and talent there between those two. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a slippery slope. I mean, you pay Dak Prescott, you know, $40 million. What if the next big rookie, you know, Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or somebody sets the world on fire? Where are they going to get paid in a few years? You know,
Well,
no.
Where's Josh Allen?
Well, just think of the contract that Mahomes just signed. What, last year, beginning of the year?
Yeah, I was actually going to get.
I mean, just think 5 years from now, we're going to think that was a steal of a deal, you know, for Kansas City. So, yeah, I mean, when you got a stud quarterback, yeah, you got to lock him up long term right away, or else you're going to be paying, you know, phenomenal money down the road.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it in pro sports, especially football. where one guy gets this, and then another guy goes, "Well, I'm better than him. I should get 5
Yep.
million more." And then the next person
Yep.
goes, "Well, I'm going to be better than him, so I want 5 million more." And then it just keeps going.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Football's definitely like that.
Now,
yeah,
I said I was going to get into Patrick Mahomes. I feel like Patrick Mahomes was a mix of Tom Brady and Dak Prescott. Let me explain why.
Okay.
He has the highest paid quarterback contract in the NFL. But he does give some of that money back to the owner, to the team, if needed. He got paid some of that money back, so he can go in, so the Chiefs can go in and get a Le'Veon Bell. Um, and his players, they were asked, how would you describe Patrick Mahomes? There were so many nice words for Patrick Mahomes, but there was one word that was not said by any of the players from the Kansas City Chiefs, and that was rich. They said nothing about Mahomes' contract situation. Nothing. Um, and besides, he's also getting some of that money elsewhere too because he is part owner of the Kansas City Royals.
Who is?
Mahomes,
Is it really? Oh,
yeah, he is. So he's getting money outside of the NFL.
wow. Did not know that. So,
well,
cool.
I could see Mahomes. I could see Mahomes being like Tom Brady down the road, restructuring
Yeah.
his contract, especially if he's got a weak offensive line or something, and
Yeah,
there's some really good free agents or something out there. I could see him going, you know what? Pay me a little less and let's get this guy in because I need some help. I mean,
yeah,
they got
Well,
8X in the Super Bowl on their
exactly
it
what
hands.
just got weaker. It just got weaker yesterday. So,
Yeah.
exactly like
So
what Michael Thomas did yesterday.
yep.
Not yesterday, today. He restructured his contract so they can go out and get it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um,
whether
I
you like
have to
Tom
say,
Brady or not, or you love him or hate him, one thing that you can always say about Tom Brady is he truly loves the game of football. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
just punching in and punching out like a lot of players you see over the years and currently. He loves to play,
Yeah.
he loves to win. It's all about winning, it's all about having fun, and he loves to play. So whether you like the guy, hate the guy, nobody can take away his love for the game. So,
I'm gonna have to say, moving on and talking about the whole Kansas City offensive line situation. I'm gonna go a little bit different. I don't think that was the right move for Kansas City, and and the reason for it, we saw in the Super Bowl. Yes, that offensive line was bad, but not a lot of their starters played. Two opted out. Both their starting and backup center were hurt. So even though the quarterback wasn't protected throughout most of the playoffs, it wasn't entirely the offensive line's fault because they weren't there. They weren't there by injury or by opting out of the season. Greg, we're gonna go with you on this one first. Do you agree with that?
uh,
You can
yeah,
kind
I mean, injuries did play a big part. It always plays a big part, especially coming into postseason when you're losing some key players or some essential players. You know, come close to playoff time, just like we've been talking about AD and him being out. How's that going to affect the team, and if it's long term, what's really going to happen? So, I think that when you lose starters or you lose great backups at certain positions, whether it's center, running back, wide receiver, it's really going to ding up your team, and it's going to hurt your team's chance for success. So I think that played a lot into Mahomes having to scramble a lot because you had a lot of guys that didn't get a lot of playing time, or kind of sat on the bench most of the year, and then they're kind of thrown in there in the Super Bowl, and they just couldn't hold up against Tampa Bay's defense. So I think that there was some injury issues. I think that that was a big reason why Mahomes was having such a frustrating night and having to be out of the pocket on the move, throwing on the run, 80% of that game. So, I think that that's a big part of it. I mean, line health, your offensive line health is huge, absolutely huge in the NFL. If you don't have a healthy line and a decent line, you're not going to go anywhere. It sets up your whole offense, protects the quarterback, sets up the run game. So I think that was a huge issue for Kansas City. So I think that if they can get people healthy and fill in a few gaps, I think that they'll be all right.
I do have to ask though, if if Kansas City went up say against the 2013 Denver like offense, or the 2000 or the Philadelphia like offense, but they didn't have the greatest defense. I know Denver had like Von Miller, but they did. It wasn't the number one ranked defense out there. Well, wasn't that the best, or wasn't a great defense. What I'm trying to ask: do you think we would be having this? Do you think we would be having this conversation? Do you think Kansas City would have cut their offensive tackles, or say they win the game, would they be cutting their offensive tackles? Do you think that would have happened?
If they won, no, we're not having this conversation. But and cutting both tackles. I mean, like Greg said, offensive line play is a big part of football. You got chemistry there. You got to know what your guy on your left side, your guy on your right side is doing. And if you're getting new people in there, you don't know how he plays. So you got to kind of adjust your game. So, yeah, it was a big hurt. But yeah, if they were healthy, we're probably talking a whole different subject. Tom Brady's not, carrying those, throwing the Super Bowl trophy over the lake to another boat. So, but yeah, it's all offensive line play. I think if they're healthy, we're not having this conversation at all.
Now I do want to cover some other big news. With Cam Newton that just happened earlier.
Oh.
Cam Newton returning back to the Patriots. I'm going to start off first. I have been saying ever since I started this show that Cam Newton is not as great as what people think they are. As great as Bill Belichick is, he does not do well with free agency. He does not do well with free agency. He does not draft well. I honestly think, Bill Belichick, if I'm not mistaken, he's been part of New England's coach ever since Tom Brady was drafted. He was the one to draft Tom Brady. Am I correct? Did they have a GM, or was it all Bill Belichick?
No, it might have been Parcells at that time, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
he's a great coach, not a great GM, and not a great GM at all. They've had, ever since New England started, he's had Randy Moss, and that's the only wide receiver that he's had.
yeah.
Some people can argue Julian Edelman, but I think he's an overrated wide receiver a little bit. But I'm going to, I'm going to say I don't like this move, and I think New England is going to repeat exactly what happened last year. Maybe do a little bit better because of their defense. They opted out for one season. Maybe do a little bit better because of that defense. They're not going all the way. They're not even. I don't think they're going to make playoffs. Brandon.
Well, you're right, Nate. I mean, I think this was one of the biggest shockers I saw today. If I'm a New England fan, I'm calling the Sheriffs because, Cam Newton just pulled off the biggest robbery to date probably in franchise history. So if he was in his prime, yeah, he's worth this and more. But after the way he performed last year, yeah, he's not worth that. I think Dip his total throwing quarter or touchdowns did um Kamara have more touchdowns in one game than Cam threw all year. So yeah, I don't think this was a smart move on New England's part.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
I just received some breaking news.
Okay.
Former Browns and Packers linebacker Christian Kirksey reached an agreement with the Houston Texans for a one-year contract to up to $4.5 million.
Wow.
So Texans signed. You heard it from here first. Texans signed former Cleveland Browns and Green Bay Packers linebacker Christian Kirksey. Now, before going on to that, we're going to start with Greg. Do you like that move by the Texans?
Well, I kind of like the move by the Texans. I mean, the Texans, I don't have any clue as to what's going on over there. I think that right now they're probably the worst ran franchise in history. I mean, currently going in the NFL. Okay, you got the Deshaun Watson situation. He's wanting out. They're wanting to hold on to him. So are they going to be stubborn and keep him and force him to play or force him to sit out? Or are they going to try to get a big healthy load for him in return and send him off to maybe San Francisco or the Jets or a team like that? Then they hire an aging kind of a coach that doesn't have a lot of head coaching experience, but he seems like a good guy. Houston seems to have a lot of problems. They couldn't hold on to J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was so desperate to leave that he was willing to go to the Cardinals, who are still, I think, are several years away from getting to a Super Bowl or making a deep playoff run. So I don't know. I kind of like the move by the Texans, though, because they need as much talent as they can get. 4.5 mil, that's not a huge chunk of change in today's NFL. So I think that it's a pretty decent move. But I don't know. I kind of feel bad for the guy because the Browns and the Packers, they were showing signs of life and having a lot of success, especially this year. So I don't know. I kind of feel bad that he's going into that situation, but I do like the move on the Texans to pick him up because they do need whatever they can get right now.
Well, yeah, and then they just signed Ingram yesterday, so I mean, but like Greg said, we don't know what the Texans are doing. I don't know about you guys, but I'm waiting for my phone to ring with an offer from the Texans to come play for them. So, I mean, who knows? They got my number probably somewhere. So,
yeah,
Houston.
We have a problem.
Yeah, I was about to say that Houston Esport, we have a problem.
Yeah.
As for me, I mean, anything they can get helps, probably, because they're just a mess of a situation.
Yeah.
Deshaun wants out. He's probably going to be out. Now they did sign. A running back yesterday, which I think is an upgrade over Chris Carson, but it's still not enough. I mean, they might do like a 1-2 combo thing for the Texans, but I don't think that's enough. Now, going back to the last topics that we had, about it was about the Chiefs, right? Or do we move on?
We were talking about Cam Newton.
Oh, Cam Newton.
Oh.
Yeah, what was your take on the Cam Newton thing?
Well, here's the thing. they can sign Cam Newton if that's what they feel they need to do. I think that Cam Newton's a talented quarterback. I think he's kind of a flashy quarterback, but he is an above average quarterback. I don't know how well him and Belichick are going to fit in, but we all know that if Belichick is dissatisfied, he has no problem sitting Cam Newton and going with somebody else. He had no problem moving on from Drew Bledsoe when Tom Brady was showing that he was a better quarterback and more capable quarterback. So even though Cam Newton is signed and is probably going to start week one, Bill Belichick is by no means tied to Cam Newton as a starter. So they can sign him. But if Belichick, I think that the Patriots may in the draft go after a quarterback in the first round
Do you
or
see
maybe the second. So
do you see Cam Newton being a gadget player?
a what?
A gadget player starting for the first few weeks and then starting on a rookie.
I could see him maybe being a gadget player, but I
Yeah.
think that for that kind of money and everything, and with his ego, um, being as huge as it is, I don't know if he's going to buy into that kind of system or kind of trickery. I don't think that he's going to really want to be a gadget player, but if it means getting paid and being part of the team, he may. But he's definitely capable of it. He's got the skills. He can still move pretty well and throw on the run and everything. So I can maybe see him doing that, but I really don't just because of his ego and everything. So
Brandon,
Oh yeah, I can see them starting the season and then moving to get a quarterback in the draft. I mean, there's still some serviceable quarterbacks in the free agent market that would cost a little cheaper that they could get too. Bridgewater being one of them. Or I mean, does this rule out the Jimmy G trade rumors that we hear too? I mean, who knows? I mean,
yeah,
so I mean, until week one starts, I mean, anything's possible for Patriots, Texans, the whole league. You never know
I think
what's
that
going to happen.
I think that does rule out the Jimmy G trade
Yeah.
to New England. Maybe Jimmy G. That honestly leaves Jimmy G going. For me, I can see Jimmy G going to one or two locations.
Hmm.
Um, him going to Minnesota, I can see that, and I think Jimmy G. I can see him going to Denver.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Now, what does that leave for the rest of the NFL and the quarterback situation? Now, Greg, do you have anything in particular? Do you have any predictions for quarterbacks for the rest of the NFL?
well, I see a whole bunch of movement going on, especially within the draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious that Trevor Lawrence is going to go to the Jags. He's going to be an instant starter probably for them. So you've got a underrated Gardner Minshew that could very well be stick around and be a very good backup, or he may get some offers. I think that he could probably start. He'd be another option for another team that kind of needs a little help to go after, and he wouldn't cost too
Yeah.
much. Um, the Jets. It's very interesting there. I think that Sam Darnold hasn't really been given much of a chance. They don't have much of a line, don't have a lot of talent, so it's really hard to really gauge how good or bad Sam Darnold really is. So are the Jets gonna, um, you know, keep their second pick and go with a quarterback like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, or are they gonna keep Sam Darnold and try to trade away their two pick for, another first rounder later in the round, and then get a couple, thirds or something out of the deal um, for it. So I see a lot of teams. I see about 5 teams really desperately going after a quarterback. And, we talked about Jimmy G. I think that the 49ers are thinking maybe leaning towards moving on from him if they could put something together and get Deshaun Watson or somebody really good out there. And then I could see kind of a happy marriage between Garoppolo and Belichick if he went back to New England. So I don't know. Belichick always seemed to sing Garoppolo's praises. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I see a lot going on.
As for me, going to the whole quarterback situation. I said earlier, with the whole Cam Newton signing, that eliminates him going to Denver. I know Denver was George Payton talked about in an article that said, he might be a little bit of interested in grabbing Cam Newton. He thinks that Cam Newton is more of an upgrade over Drew Lock, which I completely disagree with. Now, when it talks about Denver quarterbacks, I see Jameis Winston, as I referred to in previous episodes. Jameis Winston. I see Jimmy Garoppolo, and I see Watson. But I don't see us drafting a quarterback. But then what I did say is I forgot about Sam Darnold. I can see that move going on too. But I don't think they should. I think Jets should keep Sam Darnold and go for Samoa Winehouse. That's just personally me.
You know what I think Denver should do?
What?
I think that they should make a play for Matt Ryan. He's only got 1 year left on his contract. They can go after him. He's one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in all the NFL. Very underrated. He's put up some serious numbers. Since his rookie season, he averages around 4,300 yards. Still has plenty in the tank. And if Atlanta has no clue, as well as the Texans, as to what they're doing, they could just unload Ryan. I still think that he's got a few good years left in the tank, and I could see him fitting in well with Denver. They've got the tools, they've got the talent. They're ready to compete, or they're very close to competing. So I'd make a run for a proven quarterback like Matt Ryan that a lot of people don't seem to have a lot of respect for, but because he plays with Atlanta. And they're kind of hit and miss, especially last season, dropping all those games in the fourth quarter. So, I don't know. I could see a move like that too.
Yeah,
but there's plenty of decent quarterbacks out there
Yeah.
that may not have a job because Lawrence is coming in, Minshew's out. If a new quarterback comes into New York, Darnold's out. Darnold's still young. He's got plenty of life in his arm. He's got a strong arm. He just needs a system where he can be successful. So
I see Gardner Minshew actually going to Washington if that Tyler Heineke situation doesn't work out.
Ooh.
I know that's just a little hot take. Little hot take right there. I can see, but if that Tyler Heineke situation doesn't work out, I don't see that move happening until next offseason. I don't see that happening this offseason. I see that happening next year.
Actually, Greg made a great point on Ryan. I keep forgetting. I think we all kind of forgot about Ryan's situation. If I'm, the Jets of Jacksonville, Atlanta's drafting third or fourth? Fourth, I think.
Yeah, fourth.
So, Jacksonville, hey, I'll take Ryan off your hands. We'll swap first picks and some other chump change. You can take the quarterback of the future. Now, Jacksonville has a quarterback to build around and get a younger quarterback later, or even Minshew. Let him tutor Minshew around because Minshew really hasn't had no tutoring from veterans. So bring Ryan in for that year and let him study under Ryan because Ryan is, like Greg said, kind of underrated. So
yeah,
Jacksonville's got all that cap assets. I mean, they could be a force to be reckoned with if they do that trade.
And Atlanta, I think that Matt Ryan's a great quarterback and would be a great pickup. But this would be a chance for Atlanta if they're really kind of in a dismal state. They could actually get something for Ryan at this point with 1 year left instead of letting him play out and not re-sign him, and then he just completely walks and signs with whoever. So it might be in Atlanta's best interest to field some offers.
Yep, I think Greg's onto something there.
we're almost out of time. I do have one thing to ask before we wrap this up, though. Um, you know, if that Tyler Henneke thing works out, do you see that if that Tyler Henneke thing doesn't work out? Excuse me. Um, where do you see him getting moved before the trade deadline? In the this next year.
No, I mean personally, NFL trade deadline is week 8, 7, 8,
Yeah.
and for a quarterback to be moved, I mean it's highly unlikely. I mean, you got to learn a whole new playbook, and I mean that's why we really don't see too many trades happen in the NFL. But the Heineke experiment don't work. I think they're going to kick themselves for letting Smith walk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, unless they go out and they get a veteran backup behind Heineke, but as it stands right now, if Heineke doesn't work out, they're kicking themselves for letting Smith walk.
I think even if that Tyler Henneke thing does work out, I think they should kick themselves for doing that
Yeah,
because they
that's
still
true
need
too.
veteran presence. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Now, Greg, going. Now, Greg, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I missed that again, Nate. Can you say it again?
So, if that Tyler Henneke thing doesn't work out for Washington, where do you see him getting moved before the trade deadline next year?
Um, well, I think that he could probably maybe get moved to a Minnesota where he could be a great backup under Kirk Cousins and fill in if something happened to Kirk Cousins. I think that'd be a good fit, and I don't think it'd break the bank.
Yeah.
I think that Kirk Cousins would be a pretty good mentor to him. I don't know. I could maybe see him um, going to the Jets. I mean, they need some quarterback depth and everything. So I think it'd be good whether they have a new starter or Darnold to learn from. So I can see him moving on to New York or somewhere like that where he could be in a good backup situation and maybe be a successful fill-in. Um, so I think that right now Tyler Henneke is kind of the band-aid. I don't think he's the long-term
Yeah.
solution. I think that if they could, they'd get a top-notch quarterback. But I don't know. I think that Washington may be one of those teams that lucks out and gets like Kyle Trask or somebody in like the second or third round. Who I think is uh, who I think is very underrated. So.
Um. Okay. So 30. Now it's time to close this out. Greg, do you have any final things that you like to say before we close this?
Well, I just think that it's going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out in the NBA. The West, other than the Utah Jazz, everybody's kind of right in there around 21 and 15 for the second through seventh place. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers do if they're going to go out and get a Drummond or something. I think the Nets have a good beat on Drummond too before the trade deadline. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on like what we were talking about with the Lakers to see if they're going to be having to go out and spend some more money to fill in for AD because he's such a tremendous help defensively, and him and LeBron go hand in hand. So it's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But as I stated on my first show, I wasn't buying into the Utah Jazz. So I would like to finish my statement with this. I am totally buying into the Utah Jazz. I think they are playing I'm not sure if they're going to win the championship, but they're playing the best team ball that I can see right now in the NBA. So I know that I had them out of my top 5 when I first came on this network, but I definitely think that they're the real deal.
Um, So, Brandon, what's your final take before we get this to close?
Well, bright sunny days. Looks like Greg's sitting in like a spotlight over there. But my final thoughts is Sunday. I think it's one of everybody's favorite times of year, Selection Sunday. So we'll see what the matchups are. We'll see. I think we're going to see a lot of upsets in the NCAA tournament this year, more than normal. I'm not saying I'm going to be surprised if a 16 upsets a one this year, but possibly.
I would.
I
But
would say if anybody's got $50 to $100 laying around to spare, I know that money's tight for a lot of people,
yeah,
especially right now. But if
yeah.
you got $50 to $100 to spare, put it on Belmont to make a run.
Ooh, Belmont. Okay, but yeah, outside of that, I think you know NCAA we're gonna see quite a few upsets. I think it's going to be a year for the Cinderella team. I know Gonzaga's been the big talk. Are they going to do it this year? I don't know. I mean, sooner or later it's their time. Why not now? So, but that's what I got.
So, for me to close this out, I actually was watching Real Talk on on Monday. No, yesterday actually. Jay, they were actually talking about, hey, um, if this team doesn't work out heading into the next season, they should just roll it all off. What team would be that case? That was the topic, and Jay said any of the teams that got a new quarterback already. Uh,
Wow.
and for the Lions, I agree with them for the Lions, but the Rams, the Colts, really? I mean, both those quarterbacks are very underrated. The Rams have really great, really great receiver or a really great running back in Cam Akers. You know,
Ooh.
Colts, I think they have a really underrated quarterback and tight end. They have a really solid running game, really great defense. Um, and it, you know, I'm just gonna end with a stat that proves my point. And I've been saying this stat already. I've said this several times before. Carson Wentz is the only ever quarterback to throw for over 4,000 passing yards. 4,000 passing yards in a single season. And they did not have a wide receiver that caught for over 300. And if I remember correctly, he was benched.
Yeah.
He was benched, and he still it was the only quarterback to ever do that.
Yeah.
So this is Nate, Brandon, and Greg signing out, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on Tuesday.